stayed with a couple until I separated them. And Shaitan gets down and he embraces this Shaitan of his and he says, you've done well. And again, it shows like how vehement and how dedicated Shaitan is in trying to break marriages. He wants to because, as the Shaykh reminded me, it breaks families, and then it breaks communities, and then it breaks the ummah, right? And there's so many evidences of when marriages are broken, how the children are affected, how mental health is affected, how finances are affected. So it is in our best interest as Muslims to always want to save the marriage. And this is a very important starting point, right? Because other non-Muslims, their starting point is not to always save marriages. Oh, you're not happy? Save your happiness over your marriage. Oh, you don't have this? Save this over your marriage. But as Muslims, we want to first have husnul dhan of marriage. We want to save this. And I can't tell you how many times a couple comes and they say, I don't think that we can save this. Well, I tell them, maybe we can't, I don't know. But the starting point is, let's go and trying to save it and make it better. And if we can't, then I'll let you know once we've exhausted all resources. And another reason why it's important to have this is we should not make divorce haram, because it is not haram, it is halal. However, it is disliked to do it. What does that mean effectively? It means we should exhaust every resource to save the marriage. Why is this important? Of all the couples, I'm currently helping 2 couples dissolve their marriage right now. At this current moment, I have 2 of my clients where we've exhausted every opportunity. We said, no, dissolving is the best, actually. But what is important is if you dissolve a marriage too early without exhausting every resource, you only have regret at the end. What if I did this? What if I did that? So there's a lot of hikmah in doing things slowly as well and being patient. Some people will say, well, what's the point of being patient, even if it's inevitable? Because there is khair in how you begin things. And so, innamal a'malu, right, binniyat. Actions are based on your intentions. But also, innamal a'malu bil khawatim. Actions are also how you end things, right? So there is a process in beginning things, and there's a process in ending things, right? And every marriage has to end. Why? Because it began. So either it'll end with a divorce, or either it will end with death, right? Something will end, right? But how we end it is very, very important in the methodology and how to do it. But you can't end it properly unless you try to exhaust every resource first and foremost. So this niyyah, this intention is an anti-shaitan niyyah. This is an anti-shaitan niyyah. Shaitan wants you to end it early, get it done with. He wants to send a shayateen and that's it. But we as Muslims need to be patient. And I can't tell you, I had a couple. I know I'm already getting into my thoughts, but I just want to give you some background. I had a couple. I remember and I'm dealing with them right now. They came in separated. They came in already separated. And there must have been, over our 12 weeks, at least 3 times where they said, we're done. We're done. I said, let's wait a second. Let's wait. Like, I'm okay if you want to dissolve, but let's not rush into it. And you know, subhanAllah, one of the things about patience, if you stay patient, you allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan to go into effect. Will we all agree that Allah's plan is better than our plan? Wouldn't we all agree to that? That Allah's plan is better than our plan, correct? Okay. But we can't allow Allah's plan to be executed if we rush our plan. You understand? That we feel like we lost hope, I'm going to execute my plan because I can't handle the emotion. But when you do that, you don't allow Allah's plan to go in motion. This couple that I was dealing with, they really got to a dark place. And even I thought, I don't know. And you know what happened one week? Simultaneously, the husband was diagnosed with cancer, and the wife, this is her second marriage, her ex-husband died the same week. Same week that happened. And they said, you know what? Life is so short. Why are we fighting like this? Allah reminded them of their own mortality, and they were an older couple, they're in their 60s. Why are we fighting? We only have maybe some decades left. And that sparked, and wallahi, I promise you this weekend, they are not moving back together. And they're restarting their marriage. But if they had rushed based on their feelings and did not allow Allah's plan to be executed, they would have never gotten to this point. So one of the things that's very important is we want to be slow. It is never wise to be fast in marriage. And this is, I think, if you had to take anything away, go slow. All the time, what am I doing in sessions? I'm slowing people down. That's all I'm doing, actually. I'm just slowing them down. Slowing down, slowing down. So always go slower, because most people are going faster than they should be. One of the other things when it comes to, one of the things that we see over and over again is that when you are in your situation and you might be struggling, you're not alone. What do I mean you're not alone? So this is actually very funny. In our program as well, we have 12 weeks, and then we also have a men's group and a women's group. So husbands all meet together and wives meet all together. It's a very interesting dynamic. And you know what's very interesting? Couples tend to have issues during the same time. So we would have 1 week, everything is smooth. And we would have 1 week where there was absolute chaos. But I was in sessions for probably 40 hours that week. And I would talk to my team and I would say, isn't that weird that every couple's having an issue this week? Like, yeah, it's weird. And we would sit there like, oh, it's tax season. Or, oh, school's about to start. So one of the interesting things is that we sometimes feel that our situation is our own individual situation. But when you see enough situations, you start realizing there are actual rhythms that not you are only going through, but actually all the couples are going through simultaneously. So there is a communal stress also here, by the way. My daughter went to kindergarten, her first day of school, right, today. And I had 3 couples come to me stressed about school. Like, this is not uncommon. So you're not alone in this, number one. There are patterns here. Number 2, when it comes to patterns, cycles that you get caught in, sometimes you feel hopeless because you can't get out of the cycle. Every couple has a cycle. They just can't get out of it. And the hard part about cycles is that it's hard to find where it began, and it's hard to stop it, because it's a cycle. Cycles just look like a circle. Where's the beginning of the circle? And where's the end of the circle? No one knows, right? That's part of the issue, how do we identify cycles? And that's what this small component of marriage we're going to talk about today. There's so many components, but the one component I want to talk about today is about cycles. What kind of cycles exist, and how to spot them, and how to break them. And so, if you see here, it is not you two against each other. Oh, whoops. Okay, I went through so many slides. I should have indicated to you. Can you go to the next slide? Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, this one. Okay. All right. So, it is not you two against each other. It is you two against the loop. And this is the very first mindset shift that has to occur, is that we are stuck in a cycle, not stuck against each other. So here's something. Here's the loop. You make a move. Your move lands a signal to your spouse. That signal causes them to move, and then that lands a signal to you to cause a move again. That's the general cycle that occurs over and over again, okay? Now, part of the art is catching the cycle. So when I hear a couple's story, one of my conceptualizations is I try to draw out the cycle. What is actually happening? So here are the 4 kinds of cycles that we see. Number 1, the cork. Okay? Number 2, the chase. Number 3, the archive. And number 4, the third chair. These are the 4 kinds of cycles that we have been seeing throughout couples. What are these? So let's go through each one. So the cork here is when someone keeps swallowing, they just hold it, and eventually detonate. Right? There's an emotional flooding that comes out. That's one kind of cycle that we see. The other kind of cycle is one spouse pursues another spouse, and every time the spouse pursues them, the other spouse withdraws. And every time the spouse withdraws, the other spouse pursues them again. And pursue, withdraw, until there is another blow up there. The third is the archive, where there's a fight, but the person just repeats historical events, so much so that it doesn't stop until, again, it escalates to the peak. And the third is there's a triangulation. There's a third party that is kind of guiding the decision-making process. So let me show you each one, and I'll give you a dialogue here. And I want you to think, when have you seen this? So the first one is the court, right? Pressure builds. The next slide. Yeah, okay. Pressure builds. The slight is swallowed. The tone is swallowed, and then there's detonation over something tiny. So here is a dialogue. For the wife, for example, for weeks, she'll keep saying, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Like even the husband can do it, it's fine, right? They keep letting it go. But they're not really letting it go, they're just brushing it under the rug. And then the spouse will say, oh, you left your cup on the counter again. Oh, you forgot to do this for the kids. Oh, you forgot to pay the bill. Oh, you forgot to do this. And then all of a sudden, the cup? You're asking about the cup? Again? And you're like, I just asked about a cup. What's the big deal? And it's not about the cup, obviously. It was never about the cup. It was the cup was the trigger that detonated this feeling. Why? Because there was a buildup and a buildup and a buildup and a buildup. Right? Now, why do buildups occur? I had a couple, very nice, because they're actually a very nice couple. But the wife, she would just bottle it up. She kept bottling it up, and then it would come out. And so what we had to work on is, why are we bottling it up? What makes you feel like you can't bring this up? Well, I can't bring it up because if I bring it up, we're going to get into an argument. And then we taught them, how do you have argumentation? How do you go through these types of things, right? So what is the treatment for this? This is very important. What is one way to break this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you specific details on how to break some of these cycles, and then I'll give you a general architecture of how to break them. Simple. You name it. There's something very important called dissociation, okay? Anyone know what dissociation is? Dissociation? Dissociation is when you have a feeling, but you dissociate from that feeling. You separate yourself from the feeling. What does that mean? In our men's group that we had, we talked about this. And a lot of men do this, by the way, and also women dissociate. But, for example, you're in a conversation with your wife or your husband, and they say something, and you get frustrated, you're annoyed, or you're frustrated. And then there's this switch that occurs. It's very subtle, most people can't catch it. They switch, and they dissociate, and all of a sudden, they've checked out. Sometimes dissociation looks like getting on your phone. I've dissociated from that feeling. Sometimes it looks like tapping your leg. Sometimes it looks like looking around. But the person has checked out. They have dissociated from that feeling. Completely. And now is dissociating mean the feeling is gone? No. You just split it. But it eventually comes back in ways that you don't expect. So the very first thing to do to break this cycle is to name it. That's how you reassociate it. So instead of going through your coping mechanism, I'm on my phone scrolling, and I'm just ignoring now. Have you been there before, where you just checked out? Like you just checked out the conversation, and you're like, it almost felt like you blacked out. It's not even intentional. I blacked out. I don't even remember anything that the person said anymore. And that's where arguments happen also. I said it, you didn't hear me? Oh, you said it? Yeah, I didn't hear you. Because there's dissociation, you blacked out. Like you're physically there, but you're not mentally there anymore. Right? So how do you reassociate? You name the emotion. I'm just overwhelmed right now. Right? I'm just there right now. I'm at my limit. What you're doing by saying something as small as that is you're just staying connected with your spouse. I can't tell you how many times the spouse says, I wish they would just tell me that they're overwhelmed. I wish they wouldn't just shut down on me. I wish they would just say, I need a break. You're annoying me. I'm frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. I can't tell you how many times a spouse has said that. I wish they would. And then the other spouse says, but every time I'm scared if I say that, it'll upset you. Yeah, I might get upset, but this is worse. But this is worse. Right? And it is worse because you get in this loop and it never ends. And all of a sudden, you have unexpected blow-ups. I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you have unexpected arguments? Like it happens out of nowhere? Like, where did that come from? Because we're not staying connected. And things are building up in secret. And then all of a sudden they show up randomly right before I go to a wedding, right before my parents are coming to visit me, right before a school meeting. Like, I can't handle a life where it's unpredictable, and then you live in anxiety. I don't know the next time we're gonna get into a fight. So this is the first kind of cycle that we see. The second kind of cycle that we see is the chase, where one person is pursuing the other one, and the other one withdraws. So this is what it looks like. She might say, what's wrong? And he says, nothing. She says, an hour later, you'd tell me if you were upset with me, right? And he would say, I just need a minute. You see how he's withdrawing every time she comes? And she would say, you always need a minute. And he reaches for his keys, I'll be back. So you're pursuing and you're withdrawing. And she can never catch him. We've seen this cycle as well. And all of a sudden, we're talking about how do you break this cycle, right? This one is tough. Breaking this cycle is a little more difficult because what's happening is that one spouse, their anxiety is increasing and they have fear. Oh my gosh, is this person going to leave me? And so they pursue because of that fear. And then the other person, it's like, I need some space. I need space. And every time you come, I feel suffocated, I need to withdraw because I need to breathe. You see what's happening? And that's a pretty bad cycle because then she or he will pursue harder and you will withdraw until the withdrawal looks like I'm leaving for good. Right? I can't take this anymore. This is a very dangerous cycle because if you don't cut it, it can lead to complete withdrawal, like 100% withdrawal. How do you break this? This one's difficult. You have to do two things simultaneously. The pursuer has to do individual work with their own anxiety, and the withdrawer has to learn how to connect when the pursuer comes. It's a difficult one, but it can work. And I've done it before, but you have to work on this simultaneously. This one, both parties have to be on the same page. And it can be done, but this one's a little more tricky. The third one is the archive, where there are incidents that have occurred in the past and they come up. So for example, a spouse says, you saw my text at 2. It's 6:40 now. The other spouse says, well, I was slammed, I was going to reply. Then they say, like, you were going to ask me about Eid, like a sister's wedding, right? Like the car in 2021, like that one time when we went for dinner, like the one time where you forgot to pick me up, right? The archive. All of a sudden, okay, got the whole history of all my, and you've heard that so many. You're like, I can repeat it 10. I've heard that list so many times. The archive, right? Because one incident, there's a wound, and they felt that wound in different places, so they repeat what that wound is, right? And then the person leaves and says, I'm not fighting, I'm done. So anytime there is a wound, the history is repeated, there's withdrawal, right? What is one of the ways to repair this and to fix it? This one's a little more easy. Don't kitchen sink. We don't want to kitchen sink a problem, right? We want to talk about one issue at a time. One issue at a time. This one is tricky also, because here, I want to add one more element to this that's a little more tricky, which is the concept of transparency and ghiba. So a couple of things I want to talk about here. There's a very, very famous hadith. I'll probably do a whole workshop on this one hadith, where Aisha anha narrates this. There was a group of like 11 or 12 women. I can't remember if Sheikh said, and Zara is one of the women here, and they all say, we're going to say something about our husband. And so they all go down the list. Some say good things, some say not so good things, and it's narrated, it's sahih narration. And this is a whole workshop. Maybe I'll do it next time. This whole hadith, right? And it's actually hilarious. Like one says, like, my husband's like a lion who can climb a mountain. He always takes care of me. And the other one says, my husband's like a donkey who doesn't do anything, right? So like, you have very different kind of variations of what the complaints are. But I actually want to bring something more serious because of this, which is transparency. Sometimes what ends up happening with this is that a spouse learns about something about their other spouse, which they weren't supposed to know. Maybe they saw a phone text or something else. And it's a wound that has hit very deeply, right? You know, and I'm dealing with a couple right now where it got to the point where there was maybe 4 husbands who told us, we lost trust in our wives. I said, why? Why did you guys lose trust in your wives? Because they talk ill of us behind our back. And we found out. And we found out. And in that week, we actually had to make our women's session about ghiba, about backbiting. Because that was something that 4 husbands in 1 week said. It was a wound. But the problem was that they didn't feel like they could bring it up. Right? Because it was very sensitive, or it was found out in a weird way. Maybe like they were walking and they saw like a message come up on their wife's phone, and they could see it and they quickly walked away, but they still saw it, or something of that nature. One of the things about this, right, is that this archive is about things that happen publicly, but I will say a red flag, and something that's very hard to heal is ghiba against your own spouse. I can't tell you the amount of damage, and it's not just women against men, it could be also the husband that does ghiba of his wife, right? It happens both ways. But this wound, there's some things you can do and some things you cannot do, this is really bad. In Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, it's as if you're eating the spouse of that person you did ghiba against. You backbit against. What about your spouse? Are you going to be eating the flesh of your spouse? And I hear a lot of people say, well, I just need to get it out. And I push back here. You can definitely get it out while being responsible how to talk about it. You can talk about how I feel hurt. And you can talk about your pain without talking about your spouse. There is an art there. And we have to be more responsible about this. I just wanted to add that part there as well. The last one here is a triangulation that occurs, right? For example, my mother thinks the kids should be in Hib on Saturdays too. Do you think that, or does she think that? She's just trying to help. Well, then I'm not arguing with you right now. I'm arguing with a chair she isn't even sitting in. And this is very common, and one of the most common scenarios we see in this is when you have a mother-in-law and the wife living in the same home. That situation can get very complicated very fast, where there's a triangulation there. Some ways to do it right is we have to have better boundaries and better roles and responsibilities, which I'll talk about later here. Okay, so just think about it. If I go back here, oh, sorry, I have to keep, can you, next slide? Yeah, that's the third chair. If you go to the next slide here, yeah, name your loop. So if you think about it, just think of the last 3 real disagreements that you had. Not even the topic, the shape of it. What happened after that word, okay? Just circle it in your head. Was it the court? Was it the chase? Was it the archive? Was it the third chair? It could be a combination of some things, okay? Now, what I want to talk about is after the fact. How do we kind of deal after the fact? Because there is an argument that occurred and there's pain here. One of the things that's very important that we see is usually in these type of situations, one party is silent and the other is scanning. This is very important. We see a combination where one party scans while the other party stays silent. This combination is actually quite deadly in a marriage. Here's a loop here, for example. His silence fills the kitchen. You know what sometimes the loudest thing is in a marriage? Someone's silence. They don't give you that salam. They don't give you that hug. They don't call you by your first name. You know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know one of the most beautiful hadiths that we see with him and Aisha radiallahu anha is that he would tell her, I know when you're happy with me and I know when you're upset with me. And she said, really? He said, yeah. When you're happy with me, you call Allah Rabbu Muhammad, the Lord Muhammad. And when you're upset with me, you say Rabbu Ibrahim, the Lord Ibrahim. She's like, yeah, you're right. I'm mad at you right now. Right? But my point is that people's silence or their allusions towards things, it's loud actually, if you're listening carefully. And then the person who is silent, right? That silence triggers the other person. Wait, is everything okay? Let me read their signs. Are they smiling? Are they not hugging me? Are they not touching me? Are they not, cooking? Are they not, doing the work? Right? So one person is scanning that. And then the person who is scanning, they might scan with such intensity that the person's like, okay, I'm gonna definitely be silent now because I'm being scanned. I can feel like it. Are they checking, am I mad, am I happy, right? And then the person scanning, when that person withdraws more, they read it as, confirmation. So what am I mentioning here? This little thing, we see this part happen in all the cycles. All the cycles I mentioned, we see this combination all the cycles. One of the quickest ways to break it, right, is again to name it. Look, I'm pretty mad right now. It's okay. I'm just in that state right now, and that's okay. The person scanning, if they hear something like that, they're like, okay, I'll back off. I got it. But this is very important. If the person scanning doesn't get some type of information, there'll be an infinite scan mode. And they will just go and go and go and go and go, and then they can create something out of nothing. And this is something that can accelerate also. Okay, so that's there. Let's pass that one. One of the ways to also do it is to have breaks. Just say, hey, I need a break for 20, 30 minutes. Now, this is very interesting. Gottman mentions, if you're familiar with the Gottman method, I mentioned it last time, 2/3 of arguments are not solvable. The majority of arguments you cannot solve. So for the fixers here, we're like fixing things, sorry to burst your bubble, you can't fix 2/3 of arguments. So here's the question. If the majority of arguments are not solvable, what do you do? Solve it? It's not solvable. What do you do with something you can't solve? You repair. Repair doesn't mean solving. Repair means we're mending feelings. And this is very important. Learning how to repair is one of the most important skills in marriage. Because you cannot avoid all arguments. You can't solve it, but you can repair it. Repairing doesn't mean agree. You can still hold your positions. Repairing can be for number one, how long does it take to repair is a question. Couples who are in a very bad state, they tend to take about a week to repair. Couples who are in intermediate state, they take about 2 to 3 days repair. And couples who are very good, they take about 3 to 4 hours to repair. There are expertise, there's levels to this, right? So if you just answer this question in your head. When you and your spouse get into an argument, how long does it take for you to get back into the feeling that we're okay? That's a very important question, number one. How long does it take for you to get back into, okay, we're back into the rhythm again? Like, how long does it take for all those stares to go away and all that silence to go away? Right? If it's taking a week, that means there's a lot of improvement needed. If it's taking a couple of days, it's not bad, but it's not great. But couples who know how to do this well, they can repair within 3 to 4 hours. Very quickly, and they can get back to it. So how do you repair? It depends. Each couple is different, right? Every couple wants repair in a different way. You can go to the next slide. The next one. Next one. Yeah, right here. This is it. Yeah. Right. So 2/3 of arguments are not possible to solve. Right. It can be a softened tone. It can be, hey, I own that. It can be a hand on the shoulder. Right. But you have to learn your partner's love language. Some partners love gifts. Some partner loves words of affirmation. Some partners love, acts. They want a massage. Buy their favorite chocolate. Do something kind for them. So these types of things. I know my wife, my in-laws aren't here, so I can say this. So, but I'll give a personal example. So I personally bought a golf cart. I got like a very old golf cart because the kids love it and everything, right? It's old. And when I bought it, it came to my house and it was okay, but one of the tires was running a bit flat, okay? But I still wanted to take it with my kids, just around the block. And my wife was like, no, it's not safe. And I was like, I think it's okay, I'm gonna do it. She's like, no, not safe. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. I took that golf cart, I took my kids, right? It was okay, but obviously, a little skirmish there, which is okay. It's not a big deal. But I knew that. But I still held my ground because that's what I wanted. One of the most important things to remember in marriage is that you want to remember that you want to have a ratio of 5 to 1, a positive to negative interaction. This is very important. You want to have a 5 to 1 positive to negative interaction. That's the golden number. 5 to 1. 1 to 1 is a divorce number. Just, you see numbers, like, if you have, for every positive interaction, you only have one, for every negative interaction, you only have one positive interaction, that is a sign for divorce heading. It's a sign of divorce. But for every one negative interaction, you have 5 positive interactions, that's a sign of a very healthy marriage. So that was a negative interaction. The golf cart experience was a negative interaction. So what did I do? Did I talk about it? Did I try to discuss the philosophy of why I need to drive the golf cart? No. Go deeper and deeper into it. I flooded that negative interaction with 5 more actions that are positive. I took care of the kids, gave them a bath, cleaned the home, right? And things were better, right? So, say it again?
It's not worth it.
Say it again?
He said it's not worth it though.
It's not worth it? No, but look, it's not realistic. I appreciate the pushback. It's not realistic. And by the way, positive interaction doesn't have to be that big. It can also be a touch on the shoulder. It can be, hey, I care about you. Well, and we have to push back because is it not realistic or is it that we're not used to this? You know?
No, it's not. I mean, it's not realistic. It's the amount of the thing that 5 5 positive things that you say, it's not really conveyable. But this is a small argument. You don't have to shower the kids for this. You know, this is kind of.
But you know, also, here's another thing. I wanted to do it. Why did I want to do it? Because I care. Because I care. You know, I think this is very important. Like, sometimes we might think that this is just going to be a tit for tat. Like, oh, like, you know, marriage is not about holding each other accountable, and it's not a scoreboard. The reason why that ratio is there, this is very important. When you have a fight with your spouse, right? What is the feeling that we have right after it? Oh, this is going to suck. Here we go. But if you immediately put a positive interaction after a negative interactions don't feel that scary anymore. They don't feel as scary. And I'm not saying you have to take care of the kids and put them in the back. I'm saying, could it be just like a hug or a candy or something positive right after? I think that's the point, because sometimes when we get into a negative interaction, you know what it does? It leads to another one. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to immediately, when you have a negative interaction, try to follow up with a positive one right away. This, I think, is one of the most important techniques to have in order to have. So, yeah, was it a negative interaction? Yes. But I'm not going to talk about it also. I just want to get on with life, and I want to have a positive one right away. I want to cover it. And when you actually think about the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, right? You know, al-hasanat yudhibna as-sayyi'at. The good deeds wipe out the bad deeds. Your positive experiences are going to wipe out the negative experiences. You don't always have to delve into every experience that's bad and say we have to figure it out. That's also not a healthy approach here as well. Also, one of the next slide. One of the ways to ensure that you both are handling things better is to have containers. And this is actually one of the most important things I would want you to take away from this workshop today, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us ibadat, worships, right? But if you analyze the worship that Allah has given us, He has given us in a way that has beautiful structure. He has given us a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and a yearly, and a lifetime ibadah. The daily, the 5 daily prayers. The monthly, for example, the Ayam al-Bid, the fasting the white days, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Sorry, I skipped the weekly. The weekly, Jummah. The monthly, the 3 white days. The yearly, Ramadan. The lifetime, Hajj. You see how beautiful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had organized the ibadat? Allah had created containers for our ibadat so we can connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in different types of ways. In a daily way, in a weekly way, in a monthly way, in a yearly way, in a lifetime way. One of the most important things I see with this is 95% of marriages don't have the containers. This is one of the reasons why it breaks. Is marriages don't have containers. They try to wing the marriage. So let me explain what that means. You go to work, take care of the kids, you know, pay the bills, then do masjid activities, and this. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, I have 5 minutes for the marriage. Let me fit that in. Let me ask, how are you doing today? How's it going today? When that happens, there is no way a marriage is going to grow. It's asking for a beautiful tree to grow between the cracks of a sidewalk. It's not going to happen. There's no proper soil for it to grow in. So one of the things to make your marriage better is to intentionally schedule your marriage into your life. If you schedule your life around your marriage, you will see beauty. But if you schedule your marriage around your life, you will realize it has no room to breathe. Very important. Meaning you keep waiting for the opportunity to come, and never comes because you're so busy. And we all live in America, and we are all extremely busy all the time. That's how America is. We're just always busy. So what that means is you have to create the same containers. So what do these containers look like? Number one, there has to be a daily check-in with your spouse for 10 to 15 minutes. Dedicated, no phones, nothing. Sometimes I recommend right after Salah, but I don't care when it is, daily. How was your day? 5 minutes of Uninterrupted attention to your spouse. How was your day? What was it like? Anything okay? Did anything happen? You get a check. Then you need a weekly, at least 1 to 3 hour check-in. Now this check-in people call a date night. You go for dinner, or you sit together at home, or you go for a walk, whatever it is, but it has to be you two. It has to be you two only. It's not you two attending a wedding. That's not this. That's just you attending an event together. That's not something dedicated for you two. Then you need a monthly. Either one day out, maybe go check out Cleveland, the downtown, or do something that's dedicated for you. This is between a 1 day or like 5 to 6 hours, but 1 day throughout the month we're checking in, and then yearly you're going on some type of departure, where you're getting out and you're resetting. Why is this so important? Arguments blow up when there aren't containers. Because what ends up happening is things get built up, built up, built up, built up, built up. But when you take an issue, let's say for example, we have to talk about, traveling in 2 months. Okay, how about instead of talking about it tonight, let's talk about it in our weekly container. You see, when you have issues come in, all you do is you organize it into the containers you built, as opposed to dealing with things as they come. That's an unsustainable approach, by the way. If you deal with things as they come, you will be unsuccessful. But if you have containers, and you throw these things into the containers as needed, you can organize your marriage in a very healthy way. This, I'm telling you, is one of the most important things. If a couple has a fight, I ask them a very simple question. Did you do your daily check-ins? Did you have your weekly check-in? And if they said no, I'm like, that's why. That's why you got into the fight. I'm telling you, when I've had couples put these containers in, and they actually have to write it, type it into the system, our container for this week is this. They have to check it. When that happens, arguments go down. They significantly decrease because you've prioritized your marriage. You've prioritized your marriage. Just like the ibadat were prioritized as well. This is probably one of the most important repair techniques that you can do. And I'm telling you, very few marriages have this in place. Very few. And that's why a lot of marriages struggle. The last thing I'll say here, and I'll leave the Q&A, is what's one way that you can build up love? Okay? This is very important because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 4 things He says in the Quran that you can build up to. And one of my teachers has taught me this. In Surah Hujurat, we have the concept of ta'aruf. Lita'aruf, right? That Allah made you into qaba'il, right? Into tribes. He made you into different people. Lita'arafu, so you can get to know one another. Number 2, the second level of love is ta'aluf. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. He made you into enemies and then He mended your hearts. Number 3, ta'awun. Ta'awun عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Aid each other in piety and taqwa. And number 4 is وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And also have counsel of each other in truth and in patience. These are the 4 levels that you can build mahabba in. Why is this important? You can't love someone if you don't know them. Number 1 first. You can't love somebody if you don't know them. Why do we have seerah? Some scholars come here and give seerah lectures, right? I would assume. Why have seerah? What's the point of having a seerah talk? Because we forgot who the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. You can't love him if you don't know him. You have to first know him. Why do we have the 99 names of Allah? You can't love Allah if you don't know His names. You have to first know in order to love. And this is actually something very interesting. Do you even know your spouse? Very important question. Do you even know them? I'll give you some random questions and just think if you know this. Do you know your spouse's last 4 digits of their social security number? Do you know, right, their date of birth? Do you know their favorite snack? Do you know how many moles they have on their body? You see these kinds of questions? these are the kinds of questions I'm asking because that's deep knowledge. That's deep knowledge you have. I always tell someone this funny experiment. Let's hypothetically say your spouse cloned. There's an imposter. Okay, there's two of your spouses. Like, oh gosh, two of them? You know, like I can barely handle one. But hypothetically say you have two of them, okay? And one is an imposter. What question will you ask them to figure out who the real one is? Do you know them that well? How well do you even know your spouse? If you don't, you need to first learn who they are. Because if you know who they are, then you can predict things that they need. This is very, very important. And what I have found actually is that a lot of spouses, some spouses know their spouse well, but a lot of them don't. And that's the first place to start. We have like a questionnaire, just proper questionnaire. Do you know this? And there's always a domain where you do not know. Here's a question. Do you know your spouse's best friend's name? Do you know your spouse's favorite person to listen to on YouTube when it comes to Islamic lectures? Do you know your spouse's favorite surah in the Quran? You see these kinds of questions? If the answer is no, that means we don't know them well enough. That means we have to learn more about who they are first and foremost. Once you know them, then you can go to the second level, ta'aluf. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah mentions He had created you to enemies, and then He mended hearts. What that means is, you can fight and you can still mend. You build affection. And then, once you build that, then ta'awun. How do you help each other? وَتَعَاوُنَ الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. What does it mean to have taqwa? It means you hold yourself accountable before you are held accountable. Very important concept. Extremely important. What does that mean in marriage? It means you hold yourself to the responsibility in the marriage before your spouse, or Allah questions you about it. حَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسَبُوا. Hold yourself accountable before you are held accountable. Right? And then lastly, tawasi. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Be patient with them and be transparent with them. You create a vision, a shared vision. One of the things that we think is that sometimes couples, they live parallel lives, but not a shared life. I'll repeat that. Oftentimes what we see is couples live a parallel life, not a shared life. You might live simultaneously side by side, but not actually intertwined. That's this last level. Once you know them, once you build an affection, once you aid each other, then you can finally live the shared life together. Otherwise, you're just doing this. It's a facade. You think you're together, but you're just going at the same speed. How do you build that? That is the last question here. And oftentimes, there is a break here, and that's why arguments are happening, because we don't have a proper foundation. Right? So what to carry home tonight, inshallah? Number one, the loop that you find is a third element. It's not you two against one another, it's you're stuck in a cycle. Number two, know which one it is. The court, the chase, the archive, or third chair. Number three, right, break when you do get to that point, and make sure you have your containers in place. If you don't have your containers in place, you need to prioritize it ASAP. And number four, you need to first learn about your spouse before you can love them, and you need to build those 4 levels of love, inshallah ta'ala. I kept, okay, there, sorry, go back. So that is the 4 levels here, ta'aruf, ta'aluf, ta'awun, tawasi. These are the 4 levels. Next slide here, what to carry home, I just said that. And next slide, if you do ever want to book a consultation, you can on our website. We also have some flyers out, but I will leave it for Q&A now, inshallah ta'ala. I think we have about maybe a good 10 minutes for Q&A, so I think that's a good place to stop, and I'll take some questions, inshallah. Any questions, inshallah? Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch. Could you please repeat the daily and the weekly?
Yeah, can you go back a couple slides here so you can see it also? Right here. So, Essentially, there needs to be a daily container of a 10 to 15 minute check-in with your spouse, a weekly container, also known as like a date night, where you two have something scheduled together that's only you two, over food, over some coffee, over something that's only you two, no kids, no friends, just you two. A monthly one where you're having a day out, an excursion, something, or you're exploring something, going to a farmer's market, taking a walk, maybe checking out parts of Cleveland, exploring it. You know, sometimes, have you ever heard your spouse say, oh my God, I would love to go eat at this restaurant? Like, yeah, we'll do it one day. What's that one day? The monthly container. You see? Like all those things that a checklist, oh, I wish we could do this, I wish we could do that. Why don't we ever do it? Because you don't have a container in place. That's why you don't do it. You don't have a container. And you know what I do in my calendar? I have my containers are in my calendar. So when I do these workshops, there's one weekend that I'm blocked off for the container. I don't go anywhere for one weekend, because that's for my month, right? You should have it also for the week. So then, hey, remember that one time you said you wanted to go somewhere? Can we do that this month? And then the last one is a yearly where you need to get out. Get out of the state, get out of the city, go somewhere, a cabin, I don't know, something, and get out, just you two, a couple days, and you need to restart. And that actually is very important because you need to reset the year in that and say, what is our vision for this year moving forward? I hope that answers your question, Shava.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is this one-sided or is either one from husband to wife and wife to husband? He has to follow, or just husband has to follow these rules or talking?
No, both. Husband, this is both. I'm saying both equally. Mashallah, one of our wise people here is, he's saying, does the husband have to always follow the wife, or can the wife follow the husband in this, or is it mutual, or is it distinct? Of course this is mutual. It's 100% mutual. This is something that both of you need to figure out together and do this together. So this is all 100% 50-50. It's 50-50.
Question,
Yeah.
you know, most of us marry as a traditional marriage, you know. You came from family, and here we go, and you're married. And you know, engagement sometimes is short and long. So after you get married, something doesn't, you know, you got your own things, you got your own things. So how you manage to find interest, you know, after having kids and stuff like that, you know, it's really hard to.
It is hard.
You know, between school, work stuff, they're relaxed, and some people like to sit in their empty box, some people doesn't. You know, it's kind of, and communication also. The wife wants to talk, and the husband doesn't want to listen because he doesn't want to backbite. So it's kind of.
Well, the communication is a whole separate issue, but the first one you said, how do you even do this? It's so hard. I agree, it's hard, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means to prioritize the marriage, right? And it does take scheduling, but people have. I had a couple, okay. The husband's a lawyer, and the wife's a teacher. He has his own practice. They're in the Northeast, and he's busy all the time. So we were talking about it. He's like, I don't have time. I said, that's not true. You do. You have to figure it out. And what they decided to do is they would drop their kids. So their kids' Sunday school, it's weird, is in the city. So they would drop their kids off at the Sunday school. And so the kids were there for like 2 hours. So then what we said is, you need to have your cafe that you go to, and that's your time per week. So they built it around the kids' schedule still. You can do it if you really think about it and you schedule with them, actually. But there are spots available. There are, I promise you there are. It's just that we haven't sat down and actually talked about it and
I'm not
tried to
trying to
figure
say
it out.
about the spot, the time, I'm saying about the interest, you know, because, you know, two different level of thinking or two different, like, way interest, you know, you got like 180-degree different level.
You're saying two different ways of thinking?
Yeah, so how you gonna meet in the middle? So scheduling timing, this is not an issue, but the whole
Okay.
is, you know, sometimes he talks about something, she's thinking, well, she's not, like, how do you find interest on the other one?
Well, how do we find interest in what they're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't just backbite, I don't listen to backbite, you know, well, I have to say something.
Well, okay, yeah. Backbiting we'll talk about in a second, but the question is, how do we find interest in one another? Well, we first just learn about them. We take some time to learn who they are. Like, if your interests are different, then that just means we have to learn something that we're not familiar with. Like, if you don't know, I don't know, what's a topic? I don't know, like, there's so many topics in books. Let's say, a book that your spouse is reading. You're like, I've never read the book. I don't really read that. I don't really read novels or that genre. Well, then, that's a time where it's out. We have to get to know them. Tell me more about it. But if both parties are not willing to learn about the other one, then yeah, you're right. There's no way. So there has to be a commitment that I'm going to learn about this person. I have to just learn what their world is like. And I think the bigger question is, if we're not, why are we not? Like, why are we not doing that? This is the most important person in our life. And we don't know who they are. We're not willing to take 5 minutes to talk to them about what they like. Both parties. I'm not saying husband to wife only, wife to husband also. Both parties have to do it to each other. If I'm talking about basketball, and just because you don't know anything about basketball, guess what you can do? You can learn about it. And you know what's very beautiful? The spouses I see care about each other. You know what they'll do afterwards? If they don't know something, they'll go online and read about it and learn about it. And they'll come back with more knowledge about it next time. Like, this is real commitment towards getting to know one another. My mom, right, she's very good at this. I like the Cincinnati Bengals, because I'm from Cincinnati. My mom knows nothing about the Bengals, nothing. But anytime there's news, she'll be like, hey, Faraz, the Bengals are playing. Hey, Faraz, they did this. Hey, Faraz, they did that. She's showing me that she cares about something which I care about, right? If your spouse is talking about a novel and you don't know anything about it, maybe go online and read a summary of it. Hey, I read a summary of it and I learned about it, by the way. And that's very interesting. Like, if there isn't, and that's why that's the very first foundation, the ta'aruf. You have to first get to know who your spouse is and what their interests are and what they like. Otherwise, this is, yeah, you're right, it's not going to work. And there needs to be commitment from both ends. Instead of just thinking, oh, I don't know, so I'm going to shut down and stop. No, if you don't know, then learn. That is the mentality we need to have. I hope that helps. Again, from both, wife to husband and husband to wife. This is not a one-sided thing. I'll take one more question. I think we have 4 minutes. No, we have 13 minutes. Oh. We can still, yeah. Go ahead.
Me?
We have 2 minutes. Oh, okay. I don't know why I said 13 minutes on the screen.
Were you asking?
13 minutes is iqama. Oh, I see.
Oh, there's
Now I
something.
can see. You have 2 minutes. Okay, last question. Very last question. Khair, alhamdulillah. But keep in mind that this is just one element of marriage. Yeah.
I'll ask a question. I don't know if it's going to be quick though, but if you could just touch base on this. So in the society we live in, culturally, we're raised where typically whatever the husband says goes.
Yeah, this is going to be more than 2 minutes.
You think too long? Okay.
Ask me after.
Okay, gotcha.
I can already tell.
Gotcha, okay.
It's good. Yeah. It's a deep question, I can already tell.
I got you.
It's good. That's right, I don't want to cut you off, but I don't want to cut
You're
you
good.
down. So we'll end here, inshallah. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses all of our marriages. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He puts barakah in our marriages. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us amongst those who have the same marriage as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Khadija and Aisha anhuma. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses our children. He guides them to the right path. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He forgives us for our sins. Allah, please forgive us for our sins. Ya Allah, forgive us for our sins. Overlook our mistakes, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, please empower our marriage. Make our marriage filled with barakah, with good health and good wealth. Oh Allah, put sakina in our marriage, put mawadda in our marriage, put rahmah in our marriage. Ya Rabbil Alameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.